So uh, okay. That was not how I wanted to start the video. I had like a bunch of ideas that just rolled right out. All right, hold on. Give me a second to get my thoughts together here. Okay. I didn't get a journal up this last week. And I know that's not the most important thing. I did get sick. Got food poisoning. Fun. That was great. It was not. The heat wave has been really bad too. It finally rained today. In fact, when I was recording some gameplay through earlier, I was really happy that I had a battery backup because I was able to keep recording. Nothing happened. System stayed on, one monitor stayed on, and I played right through it. I was really happy about that. If you follow me on TikTok, you've seen a few of the places that I've been to and things. Did a little bit of traveling, did get a chance to see some really cool things. Went to the Spider-Man exhibit just a little while ago. That was great, really was. I know there's some people that have posted online saying it's not that, it's not all that, it's about Spider-Man's history, not the MCU, not his Sony films. They're included in there, but it isn't specifically about that. There are some really great things to see there. A lot of it was incredible pages of comic art, fantastic and mind-blowing props from the movies, and then a lot about the timeline, the origin, where things came from. I discovered a lot. I am definitely a comic book fan. My taste tends to lean more toward the indie zone or sort of offbeat stuff. Some of my earliest comics, just to give you guys a little bit of a background on where I come from on this. My very first comic that I ever got was bought by my father, and it was either Conan or Warlord. And I was thinking about that the other day. I know I have a bunch of those issues, but if he didn't buy me those, he bought me, because he knew I was like into medieval stuff. Like I had the yellow Lego castle, and I love knights and dragons and fantasy stuff and things like that growing up. So if it wasn't robots or fantasy stuff, it was Gold Key Comics or Whitman Comics that published Uncle Scrooge, Carl Barks level art. That was some of the more popular stuff that I grew up liking. So, and with Whitman or Gold Key, there were a lot of these, these titles like Turok, Son of Stone, Magnus Robot Fighter, a lot of things like that. Weird War Tales, Creature Commandos, which I found out recently, I guess is becoming a limited television series or streaming series. I think 7 episodes in the DC universe by James Gunn, which I'm elated. I'm over the moon for that. I'm probably one of like 8 people on the planet that are. Now that makes me want to really draw some updated artwork for that before the show hits. I later really got into more independent art or independent comics because of ElfQuest. I remember when I discovered it, and I didn't know much about it. It was actually, I think, through the Star imprint that Marvel was releasing at the time, and I wanted to know more about it. And when I have the original 8 books. They're on one of these bookshelves here somewhere. And I've had them forever. I've been super crazy with them. Sometimes they were stored terribly, sometimes they weren't. Long story short, they've made it this long. They were the 2nd edition printings, I believe. So for me, I wasn't really the biggest. I mean, I liked certain things about Spider-Man. He was the first real superhero, an American superhero, but my exposure to him was weird in that, and I'm not even kidding on this, when I lived overseas, Italy, of course, imported a lot of Japanese programming, and that included the Japanese version of Spider-Man. with a giant robot in the car and everything. I loved that. That was everything for me. In fact, right over there, I've got what's left of my old Japanese robot. I've shown it to a few people before and things like that, and I've still got there's tons of cases and boxes I've got to go through to try and see if any of the parts survived over the years. And I'm still missing his head, which broke years ago, and I super glued it on. This is when I was a kid. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm hoping I can find that. Even if I can't find the rest of the fists and part of that one arm, I'm hoping I can at least find the head somewhere. The next incarnation of Spider-Man that I saw and that I had any knowledge of was the one that was featured on that old children's show, The Electric Company.
Where are you coming from, Spider-Man? Nobody knows who you are.
Okay, true believers, here he is, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Today's episode, Spidey meets the Spoiler. And let's hope our favorite web slinger hasn't also met his match. Ever alert, the legendary wall crawler is looking for something. And he's found it. A rubber glove sandwich. No dogs allowed. Who would do anything so cruel? Spoil somebody's lunch by giving him a rubber glove sandwich, and spoil a dog's morning walk by not letting him near a hydrant. Spidey knows. Who else but the Spoiler?
That's right, kiddies. I'm the Spoiler.
He also likes to spoil cake.
Spider-Man has always been a very mainstream, everyday sort of hero that a lot of people can relate to. And through all of the weird things that have happened in that series, through all of the strange things that have happened to the character, it is something to see now, especially with the animated Sony movie and then the incredible films that have been put out by the MCU with Tom Holland and its precursors as well too through Sony. I go and I embrace what Spider-Man is because he's an incredible icon in the comic industry as a character, as a movement, as everything that he is, this multimedia conglomerate concept. So unlike some of my friends who can throw down knowledge like crazy on issue 161 of this or whatever, the origin of this particular villain, I don't know those things. But it didn't take away from me going and enjoying this and being able to see some amazing, just the presentation. I'm just like when I review the video games I play, when I'm doing my playthroughs, I try to remember anyway to talk about the art direction, the level design, the feelings I'm having while I'm playing the game, and what I'm experiencing above and beyond just, hey, I'm playing through this game and all this sort of thing. I really try and do that. It can become repetitive if I'm not careful because, it's not like a 5-minute review. I've got to try and stretch that out to some degree over hours of gameplay. With Spider-Man, the reason I'm explaining that out is because with my love of Spider-Man, I like it for the pop culture existence that it is, in its myriad forms, in all the formats it takes. And it does have a special spot for me because of where it originated in my youth in those two different forms of mediums that came out, Electric Company, and then, I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to say the Japanese version of the name. But those things came to mind, and they were referenced as well in this, and I thought that was really cool. I take that back. I don't think the Electric Company version was, but then there are people that I guess they expect the world whenever they go and see something like that, and I'm like, I just enjoyed seeing what was there. There wasn't the costumes that they did have were stunning and just mind-blowing and that sort of thing. It hit all the right thing for me. I was able to enjoy the graphic designers and the and the creators that put together the whole setup, the winding thing, the graphic design involved, the presentation. If you turn a corner, what does it look like to see Spider-Man on the wall? What does it look like to see his glass encased, Tom Holland costume there? What did it look like to see things from Oscorp? Whatever. When you see these things and it hits you, it's like it's planned out really well. I also loved the fact that original panel work was these pages that were framed up and put there. It looked like there was a lot that had been given to the exhibit by collectors. There were a few really rare issues that were on display. There was a lot like that I really enjoyed. I can't recommend it enough. If you really do love the character of Spider-Man and you have an open enough mind to want to go and experience it and read and learn and enjoy the presentation, it is phenomenal. I really, really, really enjoyed it. That's all there was to it. If you can go to it while it's here in Kansas City, I highly freaking recommend it. I really did enjoy it quite a bit. And I think that if you're a fan of Spider-Man in any capacity and you have a degree or an interest in how things are made and an appreciation for when creators and graphic designers and visual artists come together to put something together, it's definitely right up your alley. I got a chance, there was 2 bucket list things I want to tell you about real quick, and then I'm going to end this because I got a lot of stuff that I've still got to get worked through, and I've got to get this thing edited and uploaded. I went and had a chance. They have these little, and this is nothing new, but for me it's a big deal. I have touched and petted a little stingray, right? Little ray. Probably, I think 5, it was pre-COVID. So maybe 2019, maybe 2020, somewhere in there, something like that. I want to say is the very first time I ever touched a stingray. You wash your hands, and you put the 2 fingers, and you pet it, and go down. Fascinating. And this was at a zoo. Well, this one at the aquarium, they had a shallow coral bed example, and in it they had starfish and sea anemones and a sea cucumber. And I told myself, because I have an inherent fear of deep waters, the ocean terrifies me as much as it fascinates the hell out of me. And I know it's just a small tank, but it's just the idea of touching these things which freak me out. It's similar to my arachnophobia, and I realized too as I've gotten older, just weird things have changed with me. I found myself wanting to wash dishes less and less until I discovered that if I wore gloves, I was fine. The same thing has happened to my yard work and gardening. Very odd. Not exactly sure what's happening, but things are changing for me. So with the aquarium, I was able to, after I washed my hands, the first thing I touched was a sea anemone, which the amazing feeling of feeling that wrap around the finger. And I got a couple of clips of it doing that. I pulled my phone. I'm like, I want to see this. I remember it, but I want to be able to see it and know, hey. And I got to, I guess, hold appendages with 2 or 3 of them, which was fantastic. And then the sea cucumber, when I was talking to the lady that was there, she was like, they're incredibly soft. They feel very smooth, almost velvety to the touch. And it did. And that was just mind-blowing. It was absolutely phenomenal. So with that, I am Mario the Artisan Rogue. You can check out more links down below, including my Gumroad store, which I'm about to start advertising like a bastard over the next few days, and then really hitting it heavy for the rest of the year as I do more shows. So that's great. And I'm 1 month away from my first show over at the Granada, which is really good, and I'm really looking forward. I have no idea what that one's going to be like at all. I've never done a show where a band's been playing and I've been out there. It could go any number of ways, but I'm happy for the experience and looking forward to what it is. Until then, guys, you guys have a good week, good time, whatever, until the next time I do one of these videos, which should be next week on Monday. And I'll catch you guys then.